Well, it's time that we have some male views about the gender status and status of women in the society. So I thought I might as well give my views. As we know, except in the matriarchal societies, all patriarch and patriarchal societies have discriminated against women, maybe for different reasons, individual, social, power center based, whatever you might say, but everyone agrees that discrimination has been there, it is existing even today, and in spite of all our efforts and talks of feminism, one world, equal opportunity situations, gender empowerment, preferential treatment to the women as gender, to bring them on par with the male counterparts. All these are good intentions, good things. Improvement has happened. The women have better understanding and surroundings these days. Laws are there to take care of their various discrimination-based systems. But I would still think that a lot has to be done. If you look at it from my understanding, even today, half the women of the world live in subservience and even slave-like situations in many societies. Be it the prescription of religion, be it the legacy of the society where men have got all the advantages of being men and they don't want to part with the power and the privilege that they have had always and they are still enjoying, or maybe for political reasons, social reasons, disparities and income levels, like the men being the bread earner of the families, all these concepts have now eroded. Now you have women also breadwinners or bread earners for the family and the society. And in spite of that, what I noticed is that they have to carry out the dual role, both as a professional, the office worker, or the bread earner for the families, and when they come home or before going to work, they develop as the lady of the house, and they have to go through the course of the various domestic responsibilities, the managing the homes, the kitchen, and the men themselves. So situation is improving. We have a lot of lobbies, the pressure groups, the enthusiasts, the feminines, the international and national organizations, the non-government organizations, but the ground reality, to my understanding, is still not very encouraging. I noticed that there are various laws. Take the example of Africa or even India or other Asian countries. You have laws that entitles the women the equal share in the inheritance. But if they ask for it, they are considered to be no good people in the family, asking for too much. And the male counterpart, they don't want to part with it. So they don't like it. So realizing these things, women don't even ask for their property rights or other privileges in the family. So if you don't ask, they'll say, oh, so person, she's a nice person, very caring, understanding, and not greedy, without looking at themselves. They would go down to any extent of bringing greed in the system, in the family. But if the lady is asking for her right, is considered to be rebellious or a defiant person in the family, and not caring about the male siblings or the other members of the family, and so many things. Some of the good things that have happened, to my understanding, are the virginity of the male was never questioned by the families and societies in the past. But for women, because of biological reasons, you could make out in cases, certain cases, not all. Sometimes you can have a broken hymen without having sex ever. So those are, but in the society level, people view those things very pious, and expected women to be virgin before marriage, no extramarital relations or sex. And for the men, this even today, things are different. Most women know it, but they have to compromise to make a living. Otherwise, they are ill-treated, abused, wronged by different levels and strata of the society, starting from home. So those things will change with the time. With the time, a lot of things have changed. Many of the understanding men, they share the domestic responsibility with the women. Even if they are homemakers, so what? Being a homemaker itself is a very demanding job. The pivot of the family becomes the lady of the house, and they have to take care of everybody's needs, responsibilities, and comfort and all that they have been doing traditionally. You don't have to really be a homemaker these days. We have got many options. By sitting at home, using the technology, you can work online. You can do you can make money in the stock exchange with the kind of facilities that are available nowadays. You can do online trading. So you don't have to really go out of the house. Those of you who don't have a regular job, you can do a lot of the things. Handicrafts, giving advices, making some peer groups, starting a kind of support group for the needy people around, and associate with some non-government organizations. A lot of things are possible. Another thing that I notice as a change is that women have started taking positions, highest positions. Still, the situation is very dismal. But in some countries, they have got preferential treatment for getting jobs, or getting into the political positions, the legislative positions. But more or less, those political and other things, they have gone to the vested interest groups only. So maybe that has not brought the desired results. But there are people meritorious. They have done exceedingly well in areas of politics, economics, management, research, and you know that now they go around being fighter pilots, and the Navy SEALs or the Navy people everywhere, the pilots of the aircraft. So bankers, in India we have a lot of women bankers these days on the top positions. So things are changing, but if you look down, then those people look very small, flying high in numbers. The people on ground are still bearing the brunt of the old discrimination and inferiority given by the society to them at all spheres of life. So my advice to people would be that charity begins at home, and this is not exactly charity, it is the responsibility. So each man must be compliant to this in his own eyes and intents, that they would treat women on par with men, and wherever they have to do the shared jobs, they should not be wanted or shirking from doing those things. I have been by hobby a good cook. My wife knows it, my son knows it, but they would tell me, don't go to the kitchen, you don't go to the kitchen, it is our job, it is my job. My son would be still thinking that, oh, if he starts doing it, maybe I will also be asked to do that. So when he is at home, he won't do it. So that is where the mindset works. The man thinks that it is the responsibility of the women, and women encourage them for different reasons. Maybe that is where they get some sense of power, that yes, it is me who decides the menu, it is me who decides who should eat when and what should be cooked to make a nice meal any time. So those are perhaps not the right things to do. Women should forget about making tasty meals for the family. Let the men boil the vegetables or the rice, or make bread or whatever. If they don't like the taste, they also have to come up. You can teach them occasionally, once a week, maybe nice meal for the family, so that should be motivating enough for everyone else to do. The second thing I would suggest, that from the childhood, if you catch people young, it works. In our times, we had value system. Repeatedly we are told, respect the women, where women are worshipped, the gods live there, and a lot of those ancient philosophies and wisdom words coming out from the ancient Indian systems. So we grew up like that. Nowadays people are more interested watching the glamour world things, and the mindset of them is not towards the value system. So the value system of the societies and the family is very important to me. You may modernize with the time, you can walk with the time, but you cannot suddenly start jumping all over. When I lived in England, a lot of people had, thinking that in England women are very free and very frank and all that. I found the English women very conservative, more conservative than Indians in certain respects. So you don't really have to understand things without perspective or without the knowledge. If you keep your minds open and verify the facts before you bring up any permanent idea in your mind, it helps. And the other thing is that the sex education, it should be age appropriate. Nowadays everyone talks about sex education. Don't do it just for the heck of doing it. Understand the psychology of the children, psychology of the society and the family, and be informative. In the rural areas, I was talking to someone the other day that the children know about reproductive system very well, because when they see a cow or a buffalo being mated, they are even supposed to whistle around to encourage the male to go for a act of sex with the buffalo or the cow. So they don't at that time maybe knowing the nuances and the whole thing about the progeny. So that is where they should be told, because they are already exposed to it. That doesn't mean that you start telling people in a very exotic manner about what sex is all about and all that. So these are the responsibilities that the society must perform, educating people against the negative things of sex education, the health education, nutrition, sanitation, cleanliness. Holistically, you have to give education, not just in the name of health education you start saying no, we should have sex education in this society. I'm disheartened to see in certain societies that where we had value education in the schools, they don't have it anymore. So the convent schools, they still do. They do have. You have to do prayers. It's mandatory. You have to say thank you God for the food we eat and all that. But the other so-called modern education-based schools, then they don't do it anymore. In our times, the diktat was that Guru is the God, Guru is the creator, Guru is the person responsible for maintenance, and Guru is the destroyer. So Guru should be worshipped and respected, revered, and we bow to you, O Guru, Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Param Brahma, Tasmai Sri Gurue Namaha. That's the Sanskrit verse which I translated for you already. There was another one, the medieval period verse, or the couplet. It said that Guru Govind dou khade kake lagu paए, Balihari Guru aapne jin Govind diyo bataye. Guru and God both are standing in front of me. To whom shall I bow and touch the feet first? Thank you, Guru, who you are, the person in my life who introduced me to the God, so I shall touch your feet first. So that is the kind of education system we had. Ask the modern day students in India, they don't understand these things, they don't know. Even if they don't know, they would just laugh at it. But they're more interested in cartoons, in the video and computer games, the films and the series, various series, telefilms on the TV. You know, one of my friends, I asked him, do you watch TV? He said, no, I don't watch TV. I said, why? He said, I watch the news sometimes, which I anyways get to know from the newspapers, but the soaps that I don't watch at all. I said, why? They're entertainment. He said, no. Tell me one soap which is not a glamorized version of adultery. I thought of what he said, and yes, it is true. Soaps are glamorized version of adultery. So as a society, if you encourage adultery, so where on earth you are going to have the value system? That has a direct bearing on the women and their status. Then you start treating the object of lust or a kind of commodity. Because of biological reasons, they are weaker sex. They may be stronger ones. They are stronger in reality, both biologically and by way of their chemical compositions and all that. But in terms of physical system, physical properties, they are weaker because if you if a woman gets raped, she gets pregnant. She gets pregnant, then everyone knows around. And tell me, if somebody is raped, is it a woman's fault? The society sometimes they don't accept it. The family feels okay. No one comes out to even get married to her. Things are changing, but that is a minuscule percentage. So those are the kinds of educations we must give to the society. That equality comes by financial freedom, by economic freedom, but sometimes it has a side effect also. If the woman is earning more, the male counterpart, they start envying, the jealousy factor comes in, competitive spirit comes in with the nuclear families where you don't have a moderator in the family, so things start worsening. The egos or the arrogance, they keep clashing. So there is the net result of of all this thing is that you will have broken marriages. You will have extramarital relationships. And I'm not trying to say that whether extramarital relationships are right or wrong, but all I know is that as long as you are in a relationship, each side must be loyal. And if it has to be, if the marriage has to be broken, it has to be respectfully and with consent of both. If you cannot live together, if you decide to stay separately, it's one thing. But sometimes the property factors come in and the other factors come in, where most of the cases, as I understood in the society in my life, is that women are the losers. Even if they are financially gainers, they are losers. The people who think somebody is a divorced woman or separated woman, like being single, even with the child, people surrounding her and around her, they start thinking that, oh, it's a someone who is available and an easy catch. So those things may not happen around you, but around me those things have happened, and I have noticed. So that is where the women have to be very responsible themselves to take care of those situations, and they have to be very clear about what they want in life, and they must fight for their right. If you don't fight for your right, nothing will happen. If you fight for your rights, something will happen. Even you may have to suffer a lot. But if everyone fights for the same thing, if every woman fights for the same right, then it becomes a norm of the society. My advice to my women folk is that follow the similar norms. Whether you are a mother-in-law or a mother or a daughter or a sister or a wife, you must have empathy and sympathy with anyone having problems similar to you, and join the issues with them. So changes are never silent. The social changes are slower than even what we think is slow. At the same time, you cannot expect revolutionary changes anytime. But if you keep trying, if each individual keeps trying that, yes, he for she or she for she, both are important. So I think there is a lot to do. The journey has started, and we have to carry on. And destinations they are like horizons sometimes. As you go nearer the horizons, you think that you have reached the horizon goes farther. But you have walked past the journey for at some distance, so that continuous journey will remain. It is not that only women are discriminated against. Even men are discriminated sometimes. But those are exceptions. Don't bring in exceptions in your understanding when you are talking about the real issue. And if you come across any novel ideas, do share with them, with each other. At the end of the day, what is the difference between men and women? Only biological, nothing else. So if people have equal right, they should perform equal responsibilities to the extent possible, to the extent it is amicable and equitable. Equity is the issue. So that men should not get equity out of the relationship, that sweet equity as we call in the system, that without making any effort or payment you get a shareholder, you become a shareholder in the company. That's what we call sweet equity. So not sweet equity, but the real equity, the equitable world and the system. And even if there are certain departures, they will happen. You should come back to the equilibrium at the earliest time. The intent has to be from both, without making it a stressful situation. Good luck to you. That's all I have to say. Thank you.